I'd like to talk. This afternoon was pretty incredible. I had a class at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and I looked out at a group of people that kind of blew my socks away. I mean, there were people there from probably 10, 12 different countries that came to this meditation class. There was, people from Norway, Poland, France, Belgium, Israel, Switzerland, not Switzerland, but Italy, Albania. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it was like the United Nations, Ecuador, Brazil. I mean, it was totally extraordinary. United States. And it lit me up so deeply to see people attending this class of Rudy's work from literally all over the world. I mean, an Indian woman who was raised in London and lives in Ecuador was in the class. I mean, it's amazing to me, this kind of thing, how it touches people. And these are not just people, these are people that are coming and coming and coming and really have made a commitment to doing the meditation. Somebody from Holland, I mean, it was like, I think that, listen, 1 second. Eva, can you just move yourself because that fan behind you is really disturbing things, okay? Thank you. I mean, to me, it's amazing how this meditation just crosses borders. And it goes so deep to the very human element of what we all are as human beings, touching a very profound aspect of what it means to be a human being living in the world. And it crosses borders, it crosses race, it crosses religion. It really is kind of a doctor without borders, this meditation. And I'm, very grateful to sit and see that kind of thing happening. I mean, the classes aren't huge, but to see it from people from 10 different countries, people, there's other people, there's a woman who comes from Denmark, two people that live in Switzerland come, but they weren't there this afternoon. But I'm just saying that it's, to me, amazing how the very silence, the quiet, the depth of the inner work, the transmission of shakti, it cuts through all the bullshit. Where you live, what your race is, what your background is, what your country is, and gets right to the very essence of what it means to be a human being. That we all need to be nurtured. We all need to find those deep elements inside ourselves that connect us to a higher force of energy in the universe. So I just wanted to share this with you all. It's something, I mean, it's not that one class is better than it's not. The classes, both classes go equally as deep and equally as nurturing. But the fact that so many people coming from different parts of the world, that to me, it really, I told him I felt like I was 20 years old hitchhiking around Europe, I mean, it was very wonderful. So anyway, let's work very deep inside and just be grateful for this meditation and what it does to help all of us to grow. Not just you, but me too. I'm here because I need to grow. I'm here because I need to work deeply on myself. And people being here, oh, please try and, Atsuko, try and sit still, please. It's really important. So we'll have a meditation class. And afterwards, if anyone has a question, I'll be happy to try and answer it. Does anyone have a question?
Stuart. What is the difference between hands-on shakti and eye transmission of shakti?
Hands, as you develop a strong inner life, your hands become healing objects through which direct transmission of spiritual energy can be placed into the chakra system of somebody else. They also can extract, negative energies that create, psychological, physical, emotional problems in people. So hands are very powerful instruments, but they're not the kind of thing that you can read about in a book and then say, I'm going to do this. It's an organic process. And, I learned how to do through Rudy. He was the first one who asked me to do this kind of thing or do hands on. And then he took my hands away from me, placed them with Nityananda's hands, and from that period on, I was using that energy in order to transmit Shakti, to help people evolve inside themselves and to grow. The transmission of Shakti in these classes is very strong, but that hands on work, that work that was done in retreats before COVID-19, really went deep inside people, and it transformed a lot of things in people that had to change. Is there a difference in the Shakti? No, there is no difference, except if hands are healing instruments, then one has to grow enough inside themselves where you can use them that way. But one has to also be very careful, because if you do hands-on work with somebody and your system isn't ready for it, you'll take all of their poison inside you, and you might, transform them into a happy person, but it'll kill you. I've seen that with so many people who call themselves healers. They would take in that negative energy from other people, and you look in their eyes and you see the pain inside them, that part of them that was full of all of that poison. So it's really a twofold street. You have to know how to burn up the poison. You have to know how to get rid of it. You have to know how to transform it in yourself. And you have to have a system that enables you to do this. Otherwise, healing could be a very dangerous thing. So when I have retreats, and I used to have them once a month somewhere in the world, the point of it was to transmit Shakti, and it's always about helping people to grow. It's always about being in service to God in any possible way that I can do it. And that turned out to be a really powerful way. I've seen, I could tell you stories about, hands-on work with people. And probably one of the most incredible ones was my own cousin, who I went home for like a Passover ceremony, and I knew my cousin was sick in the hospital. I didn't know how sick. And I found out she had 3 weeks to live. And my aunt came up to me, and this is just, I was the black sheep, I was the nut in the family, doing all this yoga and meditation, gurus, you're into all this stuff, she said to me. Do you think there's anything you can do for my daughter? So I remember going to the hospital, and I looked at her, and she really had 3 weeks to live. She had a belly the size of it was unbelievable. She had this liver tumor that had metastasized. And I said to her, Sandy, do you want to live? And she said, yes. So I started doing this inner work with her, which Rudy taught me. Please try and sit still. Atsuko, try and sit still, please. And 3 weeks later, she walked out of the hospital. The whole cancer went into remission. And the only way I survived it is I knew how to burn up the poison I was taking out of her system. I knew how to take it through the sexual chakra to the base of the spine to burn it up, how to drop it, how to, I mean, I don't know. I wrote a book called Leah. I don't know if any of you have read that book, but it really is about all this stuff with that 13-year-old girl who was told she had 3 weeks to live too, who was a very dear person in my life. And and what happened, this is when I was living in Texas, all this happened. I mean, if you want to read a good book on healing, I would suggest that book, because it really, the very nature of it is that it takes this work that we do and shows you how it can transform something that is killing somebody into a life-giving energy. But you can heal somebody, but you can't keep them alive if they want to die. And one of the things I learned about doing hands-on healing is you got to respect life, you have to respect death. They are both organic. And you can't interfere with somebody who truly has made the commitment to themselves to leave the world. I mean, it's between them and God, and you can't get between that. But hands-on transmission is very powerful. And I remember when the day Rudy took my hands away, he said, okay, you'll be able to do healing. It's very powerful. I'm sorry I can't do that. It's not, I can't put my fingers on your forehead. On this Zoom, it's not going to work. But I'm sorry that I can't do that. But, maybe when Zoom is over with, or when COVID-19 is over with, I can start doing hands-on retreats. And, the only problem is I know that when all this is over with, I'm not going to travel as much as I traveled in 2019. I'm really not. What I would really like to do, and I will do, is set up a center somewhere in the world, and people can come and we can do retreats. They can come and, get training. They can come that way. And not that I have to go from month to month traveling all over the world. It just became too much. I wound up in a hospital. I had an operation, and I'm sure that 80% of it was the amount of work I did in 2019. It was too much. But this hands-on work is a very major part of what we do. Nobody should do it unless you really are trained to do it. And then, you have to have a lot of deference to the people that sit with you. You can't just do this and think you're doing something great. What you're doing is only serving God. And what you're doing is only using these healing instruments, which are hands. They're like tantric instruments. You're using them to help transmit shakti that can help human beings grow and get closer to their spiritual enlightenment. But if you want to learn about how this work does healing, go to Amazon and get that book, Leah, Story of Meditation and Healing. It's a very simple book to read. It's written almost like a novel, but it's based on a true story. And it, I had to change the name and, locations to protect myself. But it really goes through this whole process in a very profound way. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
So speaking of the healing, what about working with oneself with the healing, like working with the book and then working on ourselves? Or does it not specifically work?
Wendy, you're healing yourself. Look, in the last, how you've been coming here for a month now, maybe, you've changed so remarkably. The work you're doing is so deeper inside yourself. You're healing yourself. You know, and I can tell you something Rudy told me. He said, you're always 6 months behind yourself. Understand? So just take it a day at a time. Do your inner work. Grow inside. That's the healing process. And if you have problems, don't worry about it. Everybody has problems, but they're there to remind you that you got to continue healing yourself by doing deep inner work. And you're doing it. You're really doing it. You look so good and you're changing so much. And it's such a short time. That is a miracle in itself. He even told me in years of doing, you never heard this kind of thing, this teaching, you know? And, I'm not putting anyone else down. Everybody does what they do. But you just have to take a good look at yourself and see how much you've changed in just a month and a half. I don't know, I think it's something like that.
It's true. Thank you, Stuart, for that reflection. It's true. This has been beyond extraordinary. And yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. And just keep doing it. That's the best service you can do for me, you know? Just keep growing in yourself. Keep working on yourself.
Thank you. Yes.
Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask?
Stuart, this is Emma.
Yes, Emma.
Have you thought about creating the retreat center in the Middle East?
I haven't really thought, you know, I was thinking maybe Croatia. I was thinking maybe Ecuador. I was, you know, I don't know, the Middle East, I would be kind of a rough place. Maybe in Israel, but then Israel, you know, I've spent a lot of time. I've been in Israel at least 20 times teaching. In fact, again, my books, I've written a dozen books. I wrote a book called Light in Jerusalem, you know, which is about my stay in Israel, what I did, you know, things that, but I don't know if I could do that there. I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, it's going to manifest. I mean, yes, I would love to go to the Middle East and find that great teacher of the Aquarian age Rudy talked about, you know? But then I'd have to go into brothels to find out where he lives. You know? I mean, he said, Rudy, where is this guy? He said, he's probably 5 years old living in a brothel. So that's where we'll have to find him. I said, okay.
Thank you, Stuart, for the laughter.
You're welcome, dear. And, you know, let's see what happens, you know, because I know I want to do it somewhere and I know it's not going to be Connecticut, you know. Right now I have a commitment to my daughter and she's doing so fabulous that I just, you know, it's amazing. And what's amazing about it, honestly, is that I thought it would be through meditation, deep spiritual practice. As soon as I realized that, you know, she's not ready for that, and I stopped doing it with her, her whole life changed. All of a sudden, these amazing things started to happen. And I said to myself, Stuart, just listen to her, learn what she needs, and support what she really needs, not what you think she needs. And everything started changing. And now, I mean, I'm staggered at what's going on. It's just staggering. And she's also a fun kid. She's fun to be with. Laugh a lot. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay. I said this afternoon, and I'll repeat it, you know, look, this is post Rudy's Samadhi. Mercury is no longer in retrograde. Spring is probably less than a month away. the whole energy is revitalizing. It's going through a resurrection. And I think we have to tune into that and allow that to affect our inner lives and allow us to grow with that cycle that is coming to an end, and that something amazing is, beginning to regenerate itself. We have to tune into that. We have to open to it, and and listen to nature, listen to the cycles of life, and just allow ourselves to tune into that and change with those cycles. I mean, I think it's an amazing time now, and I think what's going to come in the next month is going to be major growth, major opening, major sweetness, love, ananda. I mean, the things that we're here to live with and to learn about and to truly make part of our experience every day. So try to open to all of this and, allow it to work on you. Let the universe work on you. It's there, it's a friend. It needs us to grow and to serve higher energy. That's what it really needs. Because frankly, there's so little that goes on in this world that serves higher energy. People serve themselves, even in a lot of spiritual practices, people serve themselves. And ours is based on surrender, the depth of surrender that allows our lives to serve this higher energy. And I think now is an incredible time. It's a time for rebirth, and it's a time for all of us to tune into that. So if nobody has another question, God bless you all. Have a great weekend, and there'll be class on Sunday. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Again, if you know people that are interested in this, they're welcome. I mean, I'm still looking for the teacher of the Aquarian age. Maybe that person will show up. Not saying that everybody else here isn't worth the effort and everybody else here doesn't have this amazing capacity to do in life. So, if you know people that are interested, I mean, they're welcome to come and find out about this. And God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Stuart.
being here, because I need these classes as much as you do. And God bless you all. We'll see you
Thank
all
you,
Sunday.
Stuart.